Well, you might have heard the National Park Service turns 100 this year, the milestone part of a celebration right here in Omaha.
Yeah, Railroad Days. You've heard of that. Some favorite elements.
Wait a minute, stop. You have you have mustard from Chick-fil-A.
I had food on my mouth, and I'm like, I don't know if that's just a sensation or if I really do have food there.
No,
I'll just put that right there.
Yeah, just rub it right on my hand. That's great.
Okay, so back to these two. Railroad Days, they've got some returning elements this year. There's also some new stuff to cover.
You're talking about these two, our guides, Mia Jenkins from Lauritzen Gardens and Patricia LaBounty. She's with Union Pacific Railroad Museum.
I took a bite of that breakfast sandwich, and I did have a feeling like there's some
but
left
I feel like
over.
a bad co-host. I should have warned you about
Yes,
that
you
before the
should have.
cameras came on. I'm sorry about that. Broad question to start with. Why is this event so important for the community?
Well, I feel like Railroad Days celebrates the really rich railroad history that we have in Omaha and Council Bluffs, and so many families in the area have a tie in one way or another to the railroad, and it's a great appreciation and celebration of that rich tradition that we have here, and it's also just a great way to have fun with your family at a really reasonable price.
As soon as you said that, I'm thinking about Mike and his family.
Mike, my
serving those meatball
6-year-old
sandwiches.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking about your heritage.
Oh, you mean,
though.
okay, yeah, the meatballs, great. How are you tying the meatballs into the Railroad Days?
Because you said the families here, everybody has a connection, and Mike will talk about his grandfather, at the depot, and immigrants coming off the train and serving these sandwiches and keeping everybody fueled.
Yeah, my family had a bar across the street from the museum, and when the soldiers during the war would get off the train, they'd go across the street. So yeah, there's a lot of local ties and history to the Omaha community here. But that's a good point. I'm glad you brought the meatballs up. But what's new this year? What's special this year?
All right, so this year,
Trisha's
You're like,
yeah,
why did we?
Finally, hello.
Why did we come? Uh-oh. What do we got there?
I don't know.
We got something going on.
There we go. Now
so
it's
this year
Patricia.
we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of the National Park Service with the theme all set for the West, railroads and the national parks. And a lot of people, despite our rich railroad heritage here in this area, we don't really understand that connection between railroads and Western railroads, and especially Union Pacific and the National Park Service.
But you know it well.
We do.
So give me one nugget on the heels of this last segment,
All
Patricia.
right.
Give me one thing that you feel like is completely special, but not everybody appreciates.
All right. Well, did you know that from the 1920s all the way up into the 1970s, if you went to Zion National Park, you had all of this lovely service, a beautiful lodge, huge amounts of catering, beautiful dishes. That was all supplied by Union Pacific. Inside the national park. So Union Pacific actually operated the concessions in most of the major Western national parks.
Really?
Yeah, they even had a company created just to do that called the Utah Parks Company.
Wow, interesting. Nice nugget. Thanks for that info.
There you go.
But if you're a family here in Omaha and you take part in this, can you walk us through what your day will look like? Because you can hit a number of different locations throughout the.
Absolutely.
It's 6 locations: Lauritzen Gardens, the Durham Museum, the Union Pacific Railroad Museum, the Historic General Dodge House, RailsWest Railroad Museum, and Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail this year. And it's $15 per family to go to all of these attractions.
Let's underscore that.
Per family. And that's 2 adults and any children or grandchildren under the age of 18.
And you can go to any or all of these destinations.
We do have a transportation route that follows a certain set, but you can plan out your day and spend as much or as little time at each location as you want. It includes all of the regular exhibits and events and attractions at these places, as well as special things that Union Pacific brings in just for this weekend.
What is the don't miss feature at each of your spots?
Well, you're Lauritzen Gardens, Mia, so
Right.
what do you have?
We have the Union Pacific Mini Train, which is kind of a goodwill ambassador for Union Pacific, and it's a scaled replica of a 900 series locomotive that people can actually ride in.
Is that
And
it?
It is,
That's it.
and it takes laps around the garden.
That's awesome.
In a small set of the garden, it has a really great turning radius that would surprise you. So it's really fun. And
that's a selling point.
it is. It can do some amazing little loops, and it's a great way for families to actually ride kind of in
and
a
to see
train during
everything
the
at
event.
Lauritzen Gardens. That's awesome.
All right, so then at the Durham, you can see there that Union Pacific is bringing in one of their Heritage Paint Series locomotives, and this is from the Denver, Rio Grande and Western Railroad. And what's neat about this railroad is that people would come from Chicago or from Omaha and go towards Colorado to go into the Rocky Mountain National Parks, and this was the railroad that would have taken you there.
We're going to try to get our families down there, but this
That's
will be
right.
we'll be rookies at this whole thing.
Okay.
I've never been able to get down there on this weekend. What do you recommend? Do you have any tips for rookies? Where do you start? How do you go about
Mia
doing
has
this?
hot tips.
I always say visit the outdoor attractions in the morning because you know it's just going to be hot in July.
You got that right.
So Lauritzen Gardens and RailsWest has some outdoor things. Of course, we have the Garden Model Railroad Garden, the mini train outside. I would say parking is available at Lauritzen Gardens and Durham. It's a plenty there. Some of the other attractions have smaller parking lots, but you can park at one location, and the buses and trolleys will take you to all of the others. So if you want a good spot, those have the largest places. Stay hydrated, dress comfortably. You're riding on school buses and trolleys and walking around. And to map out your day before you leave the house, kind of decide what you really want to hit. What would make the $15 most worth it to you, the things you really want to see, and then add on if you have time available.
And the buses and the trolleys are leaving locations, how far apart from each other?
Gosh, it's like every 5 minutes or so.
they're very
it seems
close
like
together.
we've got a lot of them running between the locations. The bus loop runs from the garden to the Durham, to Lewis and Clark, to the museum and back, and then there's a trolley loop in Council Bluffs that takes you to those locations.
And you can see it on the map on your website right there too.
I will challenge anybody watching to take a family of however many, do a day's worth of something for $15.
That's right.
Good luck.
We also joked you can find a lot of Pokemons along the route for $15.
Get the app. Listen, you know how dangerous this has become in like a matter of days here. So the website again, it's OmahaRailroadDays.com. But the number there, if you have any questions, no fine print. It really is $15 per family. They just want you to go and enjoy these attractions in Omaha and Council Bluffs, and learn, make some memories, but soak up the heritage in this area. Who knows what you'll learn?
Yeah.
Patricia, great to
You'll
have
learn
you
about
here.
meatballs, right?
She just
Meatballs.
said
some
about
good food in
families.
the
and I thought
cafe.
about your
No,
family.
that's a good point.
But I
And
was
by the
trying
way, I
to
love the
connect it
conductor's
back.
cap too.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mia.
Sorry for all that at the beginning. That was a rocky start.
We're all confused.
Okay, the art hanging behind us, it's a photograph taken at a state